Hello, you're watching Global Mirror. I'm Shreya Upadhyaya. Up ahead, we talk about the US elections, Trump's promise of lowering electricity price, and Barack Obama's request to black men to accept Kamala Harris as their president. We also get you the latest from the Israel-Hamas war, Maldivian President Muizzu's visit, and the heartbreak that came in for tennis fans this week with Rafael Nadal announcing his retirement. First up, all that has been happening in the American presidential polls. With less than a month to go for the US elections, the race is getting tighter and shriller. While some polls suggest that Donald Trump is leading, many others point to Kamala Harris sustaining the #1 spot. Talking about campaigning, in a rather interesting statement, Barack Obama, who's a vocal supporter of Kamala, questioned black men on their unwillingness to vote for her. At Pennsylvania, Obama said, and I quote him, "We have not yet seen the same kind of energy and turnout in all, and it seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. You're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses," unquote. This, remember, comes after a September NAACP poll showed that over 1/4 of black men under the age of 50 say that they will vote for Donald Trump. Meanwhile, a controversy erupted this week over Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris's interview with American broadcaster CBS. She's facing fire after viral videos suggested that one of her responses on the show had been edited to make it seem much sharper. Her rival Trump has demanded the release of the full unedited version. Now, in the middle of all this, Melania Trump revealed in her memoir how she and Trump's youngest son, Barron Trump, were a victim of cancel culture, as Barron was denied a new bank account in the weeks following the Capitol riots in 2021. Now, Donald Trump might not know what Rewri is, but he is in the middle of India's Rewri politics. Arvind Kejriwal's Aam Aadmi Party here in India is lauding itself as it said that Donald Trump is using the Kejriwal model for giving out free or low-priced electricity to citizens. Now, this might be a political stunt by the Aam Aadmi Party, but higher cost of living and inflation is a clear election issue in America this year. The former US president has time and again used inflated energy prices to hit out at the Biden-Kamala administration during the campaigning. However, experts and economists have had their doubts. They say a US president cannot alone bring in change to the energy prices. Global energy prices are shaped by a complex mix of factors, and any reduction or addition to them is impacted by several aspects. For Americans, of course, this needs to be seen carefully whether Trump would actually lower the prices or he's just being a politician doling out big promises. Let's try and get a perspective on this. I'm joined on Global Mirror by Vibhuti Jha, former Republican candidate for New York Assembly. I'm also joined by Harry Dhol, DG, Independent Power Producers Association of India. Good evening, Namaskar. We are expecting Vibhuti Jha to connect with us in a short while from now. We have Harry Dhol with us right now. Harry Dhol, welcome to Global Mirror. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, before I go to my guest, let's quickly listen in to what Donald Trump has said regarding energy prices.
I will cut the price of energy and electricity in half. Ready? 12 months from January 20th, I take office on January 20th, your electric bill, including cars, air conditioners, heating, everything, your total electric bill will be 50% less. We're going to cut it in half. And we have it. We have the power to do it because we have it. We don't need ships. We don't need long train. We have everything. We're going to have to build some pipelines because we can't transport it. But that's easy to do, and that's safer than trains. But we're going to get this done, and you're going to have, within 1 year, think of it, within 1 year, you're going to have electric bills and energy bills, and your gasoline for your car is going to be 50% cheaper than it is right now. That's a big thing.
All right, let me go across to my guests. Vibhuti Jha and Harry Dhol are on Global Mirror. Harry Dhol, let me start with you. You know, here's a politician who is, in fact, a businessman who is now turned into a politician who's making these big promises that in the next 12 months, he's going to reduce the energy prices, the electricity prices into half. How does it work? Let's understand that first from you. How do energy prices get impacted by global factors? Clearly, it's not just one domestic policy or domestic promise that decides the power prices or electricity prices in a country.
Well, let me just start off on the slightly different point of view. He's talking about reducing the prices for the consumer. And when he does that and he says that, there are going to be a lot of naysayers who say that, this is not possible or that's not possible. It's a global market. And if you really increase your production, somebody has to reduce the production, keep the prices high and all that. But I think the intention behind what he says is very important. He's looking at consumer choice and he's looking at supporting consumers. Today, consumers in the United States, like most parts of the world, are suffering from a high energy cost. And I think it's a very important statement he's made. I don't know whether he gets elected or not, or even if Madam Kamala Harris comes in, it's fine. But you have to look at it from the point of view of the consumer for a couple of reasons. One, you need to create jobs. Two, you need to leave more cash on the table from the savings that you'll have by energy costs being lower. And three, you're going to give a huge boost to the US economy. And of course, you're obviously creating a lot more jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So we noticed that as soon as the energy prices go down, there is a tremendous boost to the economy. Now, I don't know whether it be right for me to comment on whether it's possible or not possible. I don't have the data, and I have not applied my mind in detail on what the US situation is, but I'm aware of the fact that there will be resistance from the oil companies and others who obviously want to maximize their profit. But I'm very sure that when the politicians in the United States say that they're going to reduce the energy price for the consumer, I like the intent and I like the fact that it is something which is going to benefit the people, the common man in the United States. And I think that's very
No,
good
I
intention.
absolutely understand, Harry Dhol, that the intent might be in its right place. But, all I'm saying is that when it's put across to voters while you're campaigning, it doesn't take into account the fact that there are several other factors that weigh in when we talk about energy prices in a country and across the world as well, something that probably the average voter does not understand because we don't get into the technicalities of, global crude oil prices or OPEC countries deciding on a certain thing, etc., etc. Which is why, I wanted to understand from you that how much of that actually is decided domestically and how much of these external factors actually influence energy prices?
I think both have a very important part to play, answering your question. But I think as a US president and the US government, if they intend to intervene to make sure that the consumer prices, the electricity prices, energy prices go down, they have a lot of material in their hands to do so. So I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that the international global players may, affect the United. I think the government has enough powers in the hands to intervene where it thinks it's necessary. And I think, forget about the election part. I mean, the fact of the matter remains, once you give, even in India, once you give relief to consumers, there's a tremendous boost of if I may say so, economic boost, because there's more money on the table for the consumer to spend on other things. And that gives a boost to the economy. So I think it is a commonality here on, as far as the intent is concerned. And I think there's also enough, what should I say, enough that the governments can do to intervene, to make sure that the consumers get a benefit. Now, it could be in the form of a subsidy. It could be in the form of a tax. It could be anything. And of course, you could also look at offsetting the extra cost by multiple ways, by increasing production. As Donald Trump said, he wants to have new pipelines. He wants to move fuel faster. He wants to do more fracking in the United States. So if you're going to have a lot of a commodity in substantive quantity, I'm sure the international price will also, in a sense, stabilize, if I can use the word, rather than being volatile.
Okay, Vibhuti Jha, How much of this entire promise is being brought by the American voters? How much are they trusting Donald Trump to actually go ahead and implement and halve the electricity prices, considering also the fact that this is a poll issue, this has taken center stage, the fact that there is inflation, and the Biden and Kamala Harris administration has been called out for it time and again?
Thank you, Shreya. And I agree with Harry that, the inflation element on consumer prices is driven hugely by the price of energy in this country. So just one data that I had learned a long time ago was that more than 50% of American energy is used to just heat or heat the house or cool the house because of the climatic conditions. So when you people pay up straight away, whether fuel prices, transportation of goods, it's a huge country. But also what is important is what Trump says. It's not about what Arvind Kejriwal was talking about, that it is a freebie culture coming here. It's not freebie culture. Donald Trump is a businessman. He knows how the price mechanism plays a role over cost, which is the final price that the customer pays. So there is an element of cost, there is a pricing element, there is a profit element, and there is the price that customer pays. He knows exactly, as a hotelier, we all know that off-season hotel prices are much lower than peak season prices. So you see the price mechanism, how it plays. In this particular instance, he is not talking about that I'm going to slash the price. He's talking about I will slash the price to meet the demand, which will be on account of MAGA activities of manufacturing America in America again. So that's what is driving his motive. He knows it, that the Democratic Party plan was driven by a very different set of agendas. That's why they cut down on all the oil refineries. Remember, when Trump says, drill, baby, drill, he knows the fact, and the American political system knows this fact, that the United States is the richest, has the maximum oil reserves in the world, more than Saudi and many other countries combined. So he is talking about using countries' resources to keep the prices low. It is the policies of the Democratic Party that led to both Bidenflation and shrinkflation. I had mentioned to you last time in a previous occasion that a box of sabudana khichdi in Patel Brothers used to cost $6, and now three-fourths of the size, you still pay the same money. So this is what is hurting the people, whether it's a transportation of eggs, transportation of milk, it all factors into the thing. So Trump, as a businessman, understands the element of costing, pricing, what the margins are, and what the customer eventually pays. So middle class, which is always the betanoy of suffering of the what you call the pricing policies of the government, Trump knows what he's doing. So it is not a fake promise. It's not a false promise. You can definitely adjust with that. And he is doing it also by restoring the oil pipelines and others to come into play. So that when you larger production, naturally your gas prices come down. Today, compared to 4 years ago, we are paying, in my car, for example, it takes 20 gallons. I used to pay $40. Now I pay $80. So this is a direct hit that is happening on our wallet. And that's what he's trying to reduce, which will give us additional money to spend. So this country is driven by a spending mechanism. There was a time where Americans paid just about 9%
Vibhuti Jha, can I also understand from you, how have Biden and Kamala Harris been able to counter what Donald Trump has been accusing them of? Has it been successful, and has that had an impact on the American voter?
The American voter is very annoyed, Shreya ji, very annoyed. I'll tell you why. See, all these taxes that you raise on various commodities which people pay for, it is meant to fund other activities. In this particular instance, it is a war. Ukraine, it is going to hit about $200 billion going to Ukraine for an unwinnable war in which Biden and Kamala have been talking about sacrifice that Americans must make so that Ukraine wins the war. The money that is required for funding the huge activities of the maintaining and managing the illegal immigration that is happening. Only yesterday, New York Post carried a news that New York City will need 15,000 hotel rooms to accommodate illegal immigrants at the rate of $372 per day. You know what? The hoteliers are happy. They are running on 100% capacity, but at whose expense? You and I, if we were to go to New York today, hotel prices are skyrocketing because hoteliers don't care for you and I anymore because they are getting government-fed hotel rooms to manage the influx of people. So people are now, thanks to the technology era that we are in, people get to know the truth very quickly. And that's what is happening. People are saying we are spending
Okay, so we'll
billions
have to
of dollars
wait and
for.
watch, Vibhuti Jha, how this really moves forward for Donald Trump. It's less than a month left for American elections to take place. It's getting tighter, this race to the White House. Let's see how this pans out and how much of these promises are actually taken on face value by the American voters. I'll leave it there. Vibhuti Jha and Harry Dol, thank you very much to both of you gentlemen for joining us on Global Mirror and sharing your perspectives.